1 minute ago, Kash Patel exposes Diddy's $15 million jury bribe. Pam Bondi UNSEALS. Evidence Day 22 of the federal trial against Sean Diddy Combs began not with a bang, but a crack in the system. Pam Bondi, the newly appointed federal prosecutor, entered the courtroom like a force of nature. Dressed in navy eyes cold with purpose, she carried a box. Inside, documents, audio files, bank records. Today, she said, we prove this isn't just about celebrity misconduct. This is a criminal empire. Gasps echoed when she held up the first document, a wire transfer log. $15 million, she said. Sent to 3 accounts, traced back to jurors, judges, and even a member of the prosecution's own team. Kash Patel, seated next to her, nodded grimly. The corruption had reached even his office, but he stayed. To see it through. The defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, stood immediately. Objection, this is character assassination. Where is the proof? Pam pressed play. A recording filled the room. Diddy's voice, unmistakable, low and commanding. Make them disappear, or make them rich. Whatever works. I want this trial dead before it breathes. Silence, she continued. That's just the beginning. We have emails from his financial advisor, text messages from shell company CEOs, and an audio clip where Mr. Combs personally approves the bribes. The judge, stone-faced, allowed it to proceed. The jury listened eyes wide as Pam introduced her first witness, Maria Thompson, a former accountant for one of Diddy's offshore firms. Did you handle any transactions directed by Mr. Combs personally? Yes, she said, trembling. Millions wired to Belize and Cyprus, payments disguised as event deposits. But I was instructed to alter the ledgers. I knew what it was. Laundering. Were you ever threatened? Maria looked down. My son was followed home from school. A man waited outside our house for 3 nights straight. They sent me a photo of his bedroom. The jury turned pale. Pam presented photo evidence, surveillance stills, anonymous letters, GPS logs. Then came Raymond Washington Diddy's former head of security, a mountain of a man with a broken gaze. Did Mr. Combs authorize bribes or threats? Raymond sighed. Both. He called them options. Option A, pay them. Option B, bury them. The courtroom froze. He meant literally. Raymond stared at the floor. I saw a man disappear in 2019, a whistleblower. Never heard from again. Agnifilo objected, called it hearsay. But Bondi backed it with flight logs, a whistleblower's final email, and Diddy's private jet itinerary. Then came the smoking gun and encrypted flash drive, handed over by a remorseful former business partner. Inside were bribe instructions, full names of jurors, judge ID codes, and voice notes from Diddy himself. Pam played one more clip. If this trial sees daylight, we all burn. Start the payouts, now. The judge adjourned for recess. Outside, protesters clashed. Some screamed Diddy was being framed. Others chanted Pam for president. But inside, one thing was clear: the machine was breaking, and Pam Bondi had her foot on the gears. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation as day 2 of the trial began. Headlines had already swept across every news channel. Pam Bondi exposes Diddy's web of lies. Inside, a thick silence fell as Pam Bondi returned to the floor. This time, she wasn't alone. She brought files, witnesses, and bombshell evidence. Your Honor. She began, her voice clear and sharp. The prosecution would like to introduce new evidence detailing a financial conspiracy, acts of witness intimidation, and attempted bribery directed at officers of this court. Gasps echoed through the gallery. Diddy, seated beside his lead attorney, Marcus Rodriguez, clenched his jaw. Behind him, his co-counsel Jennifer Park whispered frantically as they flipped through their case notes. Rodriguez stood quickly. Objection, these allegations are unfounded and highly prejudicial. Overruled, Judge Williams said flatly. Pam Bondi turned to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to see will change everything you thought you knew about this case. The first slide showed a series of offshore bank accounts linked to shell companies in the Cayman Islands, Panama, and Cyprus. Each account was traced back to transactions originating from businesses owned by Diddy's entertainment conglomerate. The sum over $47 million. Then came the wiretaps. A recording played. Diddy's voice was unmistakable. "Make sure Patel is covered. That judge owes me. No delays." The courtroom froze. Kash Patel, a once respected federal prosecutor, now turned key member of the judicial board, was implicated. Pam Bondi stepped forward. "We have credible evidence that Mr. Combs, through intermediaries, attempted to bribe Mr. Patel with a $5 million offshore transaction to obstruct prosecution efforts." Kash Patel, seated near the back, looked down. Next, Agent David Torres of the FBI took the stand. "Following court-approved surveillance, we intercepted encrypted messages between Mr. Combs' legal team and a group of financial operatives based in Zurich and Dubai. The purpose hiding assets and influencing jurors through illegal payouts." Pam Bondi dropped the final blow. $15 million. That's the total amount moved across accounts explicitly tied to influencing members of this court. Rodriguez objected again. "These wiretaps were obtained without our knowledge." "Incorrect," Torres replied calmly. "They were authorized under a joint task force directive signed by Judge Williams herself." The judge didn't blink. Jennifer Park leaned in to Rodriguez. "We need a new strategy. This is bigger than we thought." Bondi brought her next witness, Rebecca Foster, a forensic accountant who'd tracked the financial maneuvers. Mr. Combs operated a complex network of ghost corporations designed for laundering money, transfers consistently aligned with ongoing investigations or witness subpoenas. The jurors listened intently as charts and timelines highlighted the pattern. Then came testimony from Marcus "Big Mike" Johnson, a former business associate of Diddy's. Under immunity, he revealed chilling details. "Sean told me to contact anyone who might testify. Said if they talk, their businesses might vanish, that people could get hurt." The gallery murmured. Bondi pressed on. "Did he specify who?" "Yeah, Maria Thompson, Robert Chen. He said she was a problem." Maria Thompson, a former accountant, had already filed reports on discrepancies in company accounts. Her name was on every intimidation list. When Maria took the stand, her voice trembled. "After I spoke to federal agents, strange things happened. Cars outside my home, photos of my daughter at school, notes with no names, just photos." Her testimony was devastating. The jury, visibly shaken, leaned forward in their seats. "My daughter asked me why strange men were always watching us. I had to pull her out of school." The courtroom fell into an uneasy silence. Even Rodriguez looked rattled. Bondi continued with her presentation, introducing more audio recordings. One featured Diddy instructing his head of security, Raymond Washington. "Remind Mrs. Chen her kids go to private school on a scholarship. That can change, subtle, no threats, just let her feel it." The jurors glanced at each other, stunned. These weren't vague implications, they were commands. Rodriguez tried to cross-examine Washington, but struggled to maintain control. "Mr. Washington, are you here under a deal?" "Yes, immunity, but I'm telling the truth because I can't carry this anymore." Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. Diddy accused of bribery intimidation. Global Laundering Network read the CNN Chiron. Social media exploded. Hashtags were Justice for Maria and Diddygate began trending worldwide. The court recessed for lunch, but the prosecution's momentum didn't slow. In the hallway, Rodriguez pulled his team aside. "We're losing fast. We need to revisit plea options." Inside a private room, Bondi reviewed her notes. Michael Thompson, assistant DA, leaned in. "Should we offer a new deal?" "Not yet," Bondi said. "Let them sweat." Meanwhile, Diddy sat in a holding room, surrounded by silence. He stared at the blank wall, the weight of his empire collapsing around him. Back in session, the afternoon brought Dr. Amy Chen, a trauma psychologist. She had interviewed multiple victims. The consistent pattern of fear sleep disorders, anxiety, and relocation confirms targeted psychological distress. This was not incidental. This was planned. Then came Robert Chen, a former business partner. I got calls. Then my clients dropped me. I was warned not to testify. Pam Bondi's voice cut through. Was the warning specific? Yeah. Keep quiet or your contracts disappear. And they did. The pattern was becoming impossible to deny. The jury saw it. The press saw it. The world saw it. As day 2 ended, Pam Bondi stood outside the courthouse and gave a short statement. We will not be intimidated. Justice cannot be bought. This trial is about more than one man's crimes. It's about showing that no one, no matter how wealthy or powerful, is above the law. Inside the defense camp, tension crackled. Rodriguez stared at the files. If they have Patel on the record, this is a conspiracy case now. Jennifer Park closed her laptop. This isn't a defense anymore. It's damage control. Day 3 loomed, and for the first time in his life, Diddy looked like a man cornered by the truth. Day 3 of the trial dawned under a media frenzy. The previous day's revelation that Diddy's legal team had attempted to bribe jurors and federal officials dominated every headline. Outside the courthouse, protesters held signs demanding accountability, while news vans lined the street. Inside, tension crackled in the air. As proceedings began, Pam Bondi entered the courtroom with a confidence sharpened by a new round of evidence. She introduced the prosecution's next key witness, Rebecca Foster, a forensic accountant for the IRS. Foster had spent more than 8 months analyzing Diddy's financial records and had built a damning paper trail. Foster approached the stand and displayed a chart detailing more than $47 million in transfers made by Diddy's companies. These transactions, she explained, were routed through 23 offshore accounts across 8 jurisdictions, including the Cayman Islands, Panama, and Cyprus. The timing of the transfers closely aligns with federal inquiries and raids. Bondi stepped closer. Were these transfers consistent with lawful business operations? Foster shook her head. No. They lacked documentation, business purpose, and involved shell companies with no actual operations. The jury listened intently as Foster outlined 3 major transfers that took place within 48 hours of key subpoenas being issued. Screens in the courtroom displayed emails between Diddy and his financial advisor, Thomas Maxwell. One email read, "Move the funds now. Keep them out of the DOJ's hands." Bondi raised her voice. Is this standard behavior for someone with nothing to hide? No, Foster replied. This is financial flight. It's intent to conceal. Rodriguez, Diddy's defense attorney, attempted to undermine Foster during cross-examination. Ms. Foster, don't wealthy clients often use offshore accounts for privacy or tax optimization? Yes, Foster replied. But not under these circumstances. Not with rushed transactions, deleted communications, and anonymous beneficiaries. When court resumed after lunch, Bondi called her next witness, Marcus Big Mike Johnson, a former associate of Diddy who had turned state witness in exchange for immunity. He walked into the courtroom flanked by U.S. Marshals. A former insider, Johnson had helped Diddy set up multiple accounts and coordinate the flow of funds. Mr. Johnson, Bondi began, what was your role in Mr. Combs's financial network? I handled logistics, he replied. I helped create LLCs, move cash through crypto wallets, and directed cash drops in major cities. Did Mr. Combs instruct you to do these things? Yes. He always wanted distance between himself and the money. What happened when the federal investigation began? He told me to start clearing the board. That meant dissolving entities, deleting files, scrubbing connections. The courtroom was dead silent. Did he mention witnesses? Bondi asked. Johnson looked down. Yes, he gave me a list. Told me to find out who might flip. We were to approach them soft if possible, hard if necessary. Rodriguez stood instantly. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. Judge Williams leaned forward. He's testifying to direct conversations. Overruled, Johnson continued. He even asked me to get in touch with someone in the Department of Justice, Kash Patel. Said Patel owed him a favor from back in the day. A low gasp rippled through the courtroom. Pam Bondi nodded toward the gallery. Let the record show that Mr. Patel has been subpoenaed and is under federal investigation for conspiracy and obstruction. The following morning, Agent David Torres returned to the stand. He had led the task force that monitored Diddy's activities for more than a year. Bondi played a clip from a wiretap between Diddy and Patel. Diddy, make sure the judge knows this doesn't need to go public. Patel, you'll need to make it worth her while. The clip cut off. Murmurs erupted. The judge banged her gavel for silence. Agent Torres Bondi asked, did this surveillance yield further criminal activity? Yes, he replied. It led to the discovery of the attempted bribery of jurors and Judge Williams. $15 million was earmarked for this effort, transferred through an art auction house in Zurich as consulting fees. Bondi presented photos of a suitcase of cash recovered during a raid in Miami, accompanied by shipping logs and encrypted communications. The pressure mounted. Rodriguez's defense strategy began to crumble. His objections were frequent but ineffective. Jennifer Park, Diddy's co-counsel, appeared visibly shaken. During recess, Rodriguez pulled Bondi aside. Is there any deal left on the table? Bondi looked him in the eye. You had your chance. This isn't just about money laundering anymore. This is racketeering, obstruction, witness intimidation. The full weight of the law is coming. Back in session, Bondi introduced her next witness, Dr. Amy Chen, a clinical psychologist and victim advocate. Dr. Chen had worked with several witnesses affected by Diddy's intimidation tactics. Her voice was calm, but her words carried weight. These victims suffer from chronic anxiety, insomnia, and PTSD. Several had to relocate their families. One child has developed a stutter from constant stress. She paused, then added, "This is not collateral damage. This is psychological warfare." The jury appeared deeply moved. Juror Patricia Williams, a mother of 3, wiped away tears. Next came Maria Thompson, the star witness. She had been Diddy's in-house accountant and was responsible for maintaining books for several of his subsidiaries. Her testimony had been long awaited. Ms. Thompson, please describe what happened after you submitted your financial report to federal investigators. She inhaled deeply. Cars started following me. My 8-year-old daughter asked why the same SUV was outside her school every day. I found pictures in my mailbox of me shopping, driving, even eating lunch. The courtroom was still. Did you feel safe? Bondi asked. No. I moved in with my sister for 2 months. I couldn't sleep. My daughter started wetting the bed again. Rodriguez objected. Overly emotional. No direct link to Mr. Comey's. Bondi snapped back. Your Honor, this was corroborated by Washington's testimony and wiretap recordings. These weren't coincidences. These were coordinated scare tactics, overruled Judge Williams said. As Thompson stepped down from the stand, many jurors couldn't look away. Her testimony had changed something fundamental. Later that afternoon, Raymond Washington, Diddy's former head of security, returned for a second round of questioning. Bondi played another wiretap. Diddy tell Thompson to back off or she'll lose more than her job. Washington understood. Bondi asked, did you understand what he meant? Yes. He wanted her silenced. Rodriguez was out of lifelines. During a hastily convened defense meeting, Park whispered, the jury believes them. We need to start talking plea. Rodriguez nodded. We don't have a choice. The day ended with Agent Torres back on the stand, confirming the money trail. We traced $15 million in attempted bribes. We've identified wire transfers, crypto conversions, and code-named courier drops, all coordinated, all deliberate. Diddy sat in silence, his once proud demeanor now hollow. Outside, Pam Bondi addressed the media. No one, no matter how rich or famous, is above the law. The evidence is overwhelming. The intimidation was calculated, and the victims deserved justice. The walls were closing in, and everyone in that courtroom knew it. The morning air was thick with anticipation. Word had spread overnight the Department of Justice had opened a new probe into federal officials suspected of colluding with Diddy's team. Reporters were buzzing about leaked documents, but no one had expected the prosecution's next witness, Christopher Diaz, a former lobbyist turned whistleblower. Bondi approached the stand with a heavy folder. "Mr. Diaz, do you recognize this document?" Diaz adjusted his tie and nodded. "Yes. It's a memo from Diddy's attorney, Charles Rodriguez, outlining payment logistics to certain unidentified influencers." Bondi raised her eyebrows. Who were these influencers? Members of the jury, a deputy from Judge Williams' office, and two unnamed aides close to Kash Patel. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. Judge Williams stiffened. Bondi wasted no time. She revealed wire transfers from Diddy's shell company Black Star Holdings to a consulting firm linked to the Swiss-based Forterra Foundation. The total $15 million. "Why go through Forterra?" Bondi asked. "It's a front," Diaz answered. "They disguise bribes as humanitarian grants. It's clean money on paper." One by one, Bondi unveiled layers of the scheme. Testimonies followed. Paul Ramsey, a former internal auditor, revealed Diddy personally ordered account deletions. He said we needed air gaps, no digital footprints. Next came the bombshell footage from a hidden camera inside a high-end Los Angeles lounge. It showed Rodriguez and co-counsel Jennifer Park exchanging briefcases with an individual later identified as Marshall Velez, a known fixer with ties to international money laundering networks. In the video, Park whispered, "Make sure the jurors get their incentives. We're not losing this case." The defense table went rigid. Judge Williams called for a recess. In chambers, she summoned both legal teams. "If any tampering is confirmed, we're looking at federal criminal contempt, and I will not hesitate to disbar the entire defense team." Outside the courtroom, crowds chanted for justice. Back in session, Bondi called a surprise witness, Pamela Chen, an employee at the Zurich art auction house that facilitated the bribe transfers. "We processed 2 large art deals totaling $6.7 million, she testified. But no physical art was ever shipped. It was a financial laundering mechanism. Chen presented invoices, internal emails, and customs declarations, all forged. Next on the stand was Kevin Brooks, a former crypto broker who had helped Diddy convert large sums into Monero, a privacy coin. He wanted everything untraceable, Brooks said. "We used a rotating offshore wallet system, one node in Malta, another in the Seychelles." Bondi turned to the jury. "This is not the behavior of a misunderstood businessman. This is criminal enterprise." Then came the heavy blow. Maria Thompson returned to deliver a sealed envelope inside a ledger she'd hidden for over a year. It contained handwritten instructions from Diddy to various operatives, including the chilling line, "Don't leave witnesses breathing." As she read it aloud, her voice trembled. "I kept this because I feared no one would believe me without proof." The jury sat in stunned silence. Some wiped away tears. As if scripted for maximum impact, Bondi announced one final witness, a former juror from Diddy's 2012 civil trial, now under witness protection. He testified that he was paid $100,000 to sway deliberations and ensure a non-guilty verdict. "I was told my kids' school would be unfortunate if I didn't play along," he said. Diddy's empire wasn't just cracking, it was collapsing. That evening, Kash Patel, under mounting pressure and investigation, released a statement denying wrongdoing and offering full cooperation with the court. Rodriguez held a late-night press conference, stammering denials. "These accusations are unfounded. We will prove our client's innocence." But as reporters yelled questions about bribes and jury, tampering the defense's credibility unraveled in real time. In the courtroom the next day, Bondi addressed the judge. "Your Honor, we now move to classify Mr. Combs as the ringleader of a criminal syndicate under RICO statute. The evidence satisfies every threshold: racketeering, bribery, conspiracy, obstruction." Judge Williams nodded grimly. motion under advisement. Outside headlines screamed the truth. Diddy case explodes into national scandal. Pam Bondi wasn't just prosecuting a celebrity. She was dismantling a corrupt system brick by brick. When court resumed the next morning, the tension had metastasized. Bulletproof vests were visible beneath the blazers of federal marshals. A special security team was deployed to the jury box, their eyes scanning the gallery with unsettling precision. Something had changed overnight. Pam Bondi stood composed but electric with urgency. "Your Honor, we request to enter a sealed video file into evidence. It contains live surveillance footage obtained under FISA Court Warrant 297B, captured just 48 hours ago." The judge gave a slow nod. "Proceed." The courtroom lights dimmed. A grainy feed flickered onto the screen. The footage revealed a luxury penthouse in Miami. Charles Rodriguez Diddy's lead counsel was shown with a satchel containing bound stacks of U.S. currency. "That's 7.5 for the judge. The rest goes to the anchor jurors," he muttered to an unknown associate. A murmur ran through the room. Bondi muted the clip and faced the courtroom. "This transaction matches a withdrawal traced to an offshore account held by Rodriguez in the Cayman Islands under the alias Camden Wells." "Sir," Judge Williams turned pale. "I want a U.S. Marshal on every juror's home by nightfall." Then came a parade of key witnesses. First, Malcolm Reyes Diddy's former accountant. Reyes described a hidden ledger system codenamed Dragonfly, used to obscure illicit payments and blackmail insurance. Every account had a backup, he said. You could delete the ledger, but not the mirror server in Iceland. Bondi leaned in. "Is that how we recovered the file you're holding now?" Reyes nodded. "Yes. I triggered a dead man's switch the day I fled. The server emailed me everything if I went offline for more than 12 hours. Next was Andre Wallace, a former private security contractor for Diddy. His testimony froze the room. I was told to shadow Kash Patel. They gave me a burner phone, encrypted walkie, and told me to record every conversation. Who told you that Jennifer Park and Marshall Velez? They said Patel was getting too clean. Did you comply?" Wallace hesitated. "Until Patel found me. He didn't turn me in. He gave me a choice." Bondi asked, "And you chose to testify." Court recessed briefly, and when they returned, Bondi unleashed her final strategic blow, a composite audio file pulled from encrypted cell towers by the NSA. It captured Diddy in a secure call with an unnamed foreign official. "I want full immunity if this blows back. Patel, Bondi, they don't know how deep this goes. Make sure Pam sees that footage." Kash Patel's jaw tightened. He'd remained calm until now. Bondi finished with clarity and fire. "Your Honor, these are not the mistakes of a man under pressure. These are calculated acts of systemic corruption. The total confirmed bribe value exceeds $15 million. The jurors, the judge's staff, the financial institutions all infiltrated." The courtroom sat in stunned stillness. Judge Williams broke the silence. "I will be issuing warrants for Charles Rodriguez and Jennifer Park, effective immediately. This court will reconvene under a federal RICO injunction." Outside, the courthouse news vans trembled under satellite dishes. Crowds pushed against barricades. The once untouchable empire of Sean Diddy Combs teetered on the edge of implosion. As Bondi and Patel walked side by side from the courtroom, a reporter shouted, "Is this the end of Diddy's reign?" Pam didn't stop walking, but she smiled. The courtroom was hushed as the final day of testimony began. The judge's bench gleamed under artificial light, flanked by armed U.S. Marshals. The jurors, visibly tense, clutched their notepads with white knuckles. There was no doubt this was more than a trial. It was a reckoning. Pam Bondi opened. "We call our final rebuttal witness Ella Clooney." A collective gasp. The daughter of George and Amal Clooney took the stand. Though only a teenager, her composure rivaled any adult. "My father hid everything from us to keep us safe," she said. "But I found the emails. I saw the videos. I knew it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of us. She described the night she and her twin brother Alexander were abducted. We were told not to scream. They said if we did, our mother would pay. Bondi asked gently, "Do you recognize the man who gave those orders?" Ella pointed directly at Sean Combs. It was him. He watched. The courtroom exploded. Spectators sobbed. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly. Then came Amal Clooney. Her testimony echoed with authority and heartbreak. Jay-Z assaulted me in front of my husband, then forced me to retract my claim. I had no choice. She turned to the jury. Diddy made us all prisoners. Bondi's closing arguments painted a searing image of systemic evil. She detailed the $15 million in bribes, the offshore laundering schemes, and the coordinated witness intimidation that paralyzed multiple investigations. These weren't isolated incidents. This was a machine, and the machine ran on fear, money, and silence. Then came Kash Patel. Reserved until now, his closing was short but volcanic. You may wonder why justice took so long. The answer's simple: no one wanted to see what was right in front of them. But the truth never dies. It only waits. Judge Williams adjourned for jury deliberation. 4 hours later, the verdict came. On all counts of racketeering, bribery, witness tampering, money laundering, and sexual exploitation, the jury finds the defendant Sean Combs guilty. Gasps, sobs, and then silence. Judge Williams turned to Diddy. "You built a kingdom of silence. Today that kingdom falls. Sentencing is scheduled for 30 days from now. Until then, you are remanded without bail." Pam Bondi placed a hand on Kash Patel's shoulder. Outside, thunder cracked. The press swarmed. But within the courthouse, there was only the gravity of justice served. It was over. But the world had only just begun to reckon with the rot beneath its glimmering surface.